Well, we'll miss the prayer for the recording, but if you're watching this online, this is Israel. That's all you get. That's the only picture that we have. I'm just totally joking. This is showing up after a long flight. Let's go ahead and go for the next one. So I want to let you know something about Israel when you go. Is kids cry there too? Totally have, they're human beings, just like us. But one thing is you'll find yourself taking a lot of pictures for about the first 2 days, because it's going to shock you that you are seeing things that, like behind me, are 2,000 years old. And you go, wow, that's 1,750 years older than the country that you have here. And people walk by them like they're absolutely nothing. The lower steps there are original steps that have not been refurbished. You can sit on them, you can lick them if you want. I would definitely not do that. But it is amazing, and you'll find yourself after a few days being like, wow, I don't need to take a picture of this magnificent thing because it's only 500 years old. Because you just passed something that was 3,000 years old. And so it is a perspective change. What really stuck out is this, and I'm going to tell you something right up front, that this is what I learned. The overall theme I've learned in Israel, and if you haven't noticed when I've come back, things have changed. I don't know if you knew that. And they did before that too. There's been some key moments lately, and I've been speaking about them on Sunday mornings, that things have changed. They're going to continue to change because that's what the Lord does. He moves in you. He doesn't leave you how He found you. He's never satisfied until you're fulfilling your calling through the fullness that He has for you, if you will be willing to press into it. And so what I learned is that if you go to Israel expecting a 10 or 11 day constant experience with God, I think you'll be disappointed. But if you go willing to receive what He has for you in the moment, it'll change your life. You will be blown away. Because there will be moments of revelation that He gives you. And I don't just mean, oh my gosh, wow, this is actually where Jesus walked. I mean, He will show you things that will impact your life. And this is one of them. So we were sitting here singing worship around this. This is Caesarea Maritime. It's where Herod built his palace on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. So you're looking at an amphitheater. And we were sitting there singing worship, and there's these 4 people that are standing across the way, and we're like, come join us. And so they did, and they're from Germany. And so we said, well, why don't you guys sing for us? And so they did. They sang a song we all know, but in German to us. And it blew my mind, because this is what our faith is about, is understanding that we are not Jew or Gentile, we're not slave or free, we're not any of male, female. I mean, we are male, female, but under Christ, we are all viewed the same. And so there's these moments that will just hit you. Like, these are German people in Israel that the Germans tried to absolutely wipe out. And they're singing worship songs to the same Savior that we are. Their lives have been transformed. It's remarkable. And so these people, these Germans, just came up and started singing Jesus songs for us. Whoa, this is wild. Go ahead and do the next one. The other thing is, you're going to notice when you go to, I'm talking about when, because if you're here, I believe that you're interested, at least a little bit. I know there are people who aren't here who had to go who are also interested, but I think that you'll find yourself on a plane with some of the people around you in just a couple of years, to be honest with you. You're going to be shocked at how small everything is, how close everything is. It's the size of, all of Israel is the size of New Jersey. It doesn't hold a candle to like the magnitude of Texas or Idaho or these things in scope of size. But then some things, you'll be walking along and it'll hit you, oh my gosh, that is where Paul was kept when he was transferred from Jerusalem to Caesarea. That's what they're talking about. That's where he was, at the bottom of a pit under Herod's palace on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And so you go, whoa, like that, this is it. This is where he experienced a lot of it, well, a long, good period of time when he was awaiting trial at the end of his life, or toward the end of his life. I gotta follow along here as well. One other, I don't know if you can see this, but you're standing overlooking brand new construction over things that are 2,000 years old, and there's random people sitting on them having a cigarette. And this is how like commonplace these things. This would never happen in America. Like you don't get to go to the Mount Rushmore and actually go and touch it. But you're literally touching history here. It's just a fascinating thing. That's the view from our hotel. First night. That's in where is that? That's in the far north of Israel, Haifa. That's in Haifa. And so I do want to tell you that you can get away with going to Israel cheaper than I did. But I think you lose out on the experience a lot. I want to let you know that when we go, I want this, it's absolutely not a vacation at all. You are there to experience the Lord and what He has for you. It's fun, it's exciting, it's an adventure, it's hard, you walk everywhere. But I also want to make it absolutely first class. So the hotels we stayed at were not run-down dumps that you're like, oh my gosh. I want people to feel that they're getting what they paid for, and I absolutely did. I didn't show you pictures of food because I didn't want to make you jealous. So good. I gained. I don't know. It doesn't matter now. So anyway, let's go on. That right there you're looking at is called Mount Carmel. This is where Elijah called down fire on prophets and God stomped on them. And the thing that puts some context to what you're seeing in these pictures is you look around and folks, it is dry. This is not, when they say lush, they have it wrong because they've never been to North Idaho. This is lush. This is scrub brush. A drought would have been absolutely devastating for these people. And then to have Elijah say, give me 12 water pots. Pour them over here. What are you thinking? It's a drought for 3.5 years. It would have devastated this area. And so Mount Carmel is, that building on the top left is where they think it might be. You're also going to understand this when you go, is that they can guarantee a lot. Like they can guarantee like, hey, this is where Paul was held. Hey, this is where Peter denied Christ. They can't guarantee that that is where Elijah stood on Mount Carmel because Mount Carmel is enormous. It goes for a really, 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 really long way. And so they're very honest with you, and they're going to tell you this is where we're sure, this is where we think, and this is tradition. We'll talk about the Jewish culture here in just a little bit, but they are, and you see this in Scripture. It hasn't changed. When Jesus says, you forsake the commandments of God for the commandments and traditions of men. That's still happening. They still have, like you go into a restaurant, you go into a buffet or whatever, and they will have a place for them to wash their hands right there, where they just ceremonially rinse their hands and they go about their food. It's very fascinating. But a lot of their tradition that they have is, oh, this is where we think it happened. This is traditionally where it happened. Are you sure? No, but tradition says. So you hear a lot of that. Where I'm standing here, you have heard of the Valley of Armageddon. It's also the Jezreel Valley. I'm on Mount Megiddo, where there was a mount that they built up of cities over 21 different layers of cities for the last 6,000 years. That is the Valley of Armageddon. So you can see Mount Tabor. If you look to the left, you would see Mount Carmel. If you don't know what the Valley of Armageddon is, in Revelation it says that all the armies will be gathered at Har Megiddo. And I'm on Mount Megiddo. Har Megiddo, Armageddon is where we get that from. And you're looking at it. And what's fascinating is that what you're seeing, what people have this question, like, why do we need to be interested in Israel? Why do we need to be interested in this culture? And why do we even go? It's not just for history. You're also looking at prophecy. Like, this is where things happen. This is where God put His hand to shape the world through men and women who are not unlike you, who have the same fears and same hang-ups that you have. And yet He spoke into their lives the Word of God that changed them. And you're looking not only at past change, but you're looking at a future to come. It's fascinating. It won't blow you away. It'll blow you up a little bit. So that's the Valley of Armageddon right there. You won't see it, but there is a secret military airbase. I'm probably not supposed to say this until this is on. Under there, that they will fly jets and land on a field. It'll open up. The jet will go inside. Yeah, it's wild. Keep going. So then we drove down from the Valley of Armageddon and to this little place known as the Sea of Galilee. That's it. It's a lake. It's so small. It's maybe it's 18 miles long. It's 11 miles across. It has nothing on Ponderay at all. That right there is the Sea of Galilee. And this is what is going to blow your mind, is that when they say, "Oh, Jesus went to the other side," that's what he's talking about. There's two sides. There's a north and a west that were Judean, and the right side of the Sea of Galilee, and down toward the southern end of it, that was Samaritan. That was not like the Jewish nation, the Samaritan nation. And so when they go to the other side, this is where you're going to the other side for Legion. This is where you're going to the other side for the Decapolis. You're going to the other side to witness to these Gentiles and cast demons into 2,000 pigs. I saw the place. And here's what I'm going to try as much as I can to not start preaching. But you're going to find moments where this will start to impact you, because I stood there where Legion stood. And you can easily see Tiberias, which is the city across the way. You could easily see a boat, and people get in a boat and start coming towards you. He could have easily seen Jesus sailing toward him across the Sea of Galilee. And the question is, when you see Jesus, do you go to him or do you run from him? And it struck me, oh my gosh, do we do this in the Word all the time? We see Jesus coming for us in the Word, and we run. Or we address it, and we go to him knowing that we are not perfect and we need some things changed, and we're crying out to him as the Son of God. It's just striking, these things, the revelation that comes to you in these moments are just amazing. So that's the Sea of Galilee. The next one. And then we made it down to, do you know what that is? That's the Jordan River. That's the southern end of the Jordan River. So the Jordan River comes in from the north and it flows out the south to the Dead Sea. And we'll get to the Dead Sea in just a little bit. So that's the Jordan River where hundreds of millions of people have been baptized. And this was a baptismal site on the Jordan River. This is probably the greenest place that I saw in all of Israel when I was there. It was right there.
Does it get bigger than that? Does Jordan River get any bigger than that other places? Or?
No.
So wider than that?
I'll show you the entrance in just a little bit. Yeah. Here. So Jim asked a question, I know some of you couldn't hear it, is that as big as the Jordan gets? The answer is current days, yes. Terry asked, well, when Joshua stopped the rivers of the Jordan to cross into the promised land, go back one. That doesn't look that impressive, and what I'm going to show you later is less impressive than that. But understand something about Israel, and this is what we don't grasp here because we live in Idaho, is that there are really only 3 sources of water in all of Israel that matter. One is the Jordan, it comes out of Mount Hebron. And it's 3 tributaries that come into one to make the Jordan. One is in En-Gedi, where David fled from Saul. And one is a spring called the Gaon Spring, and it's in Jerusalem. It was the only source of water for all of Jerusalem up until 2005 when they started desalinating the seawater and piping it. It was it until like 20 years ago. That's it. So when we speak of a drought, it is completely different than these people speaking of a drought. And so when the Jordan, we see it as very small, understand that they have siphoned water off of that for pretty much everything. And so it's a lot smaller now than it was then, and especially in flood season, it would have been a fairly large river. Probably not Kootenai level river in flood, but pretty close. That right there is a boat that's 2,000 years old. They found that in the mud. And this is why I put this up here, is because that is much, much like the boat that you would see Jesus and the disciples sailing in. That would be a common fishing boat. That one was used probably in the Battle of Magdala, when there was a Jewish revolt just after the time of Jesus. So that was probably when that was sunk in the mud. And the reason why I'm showing you this is that was only pulled up a few years ago. They'll show you a whole video on it. But if you don't know about the history of Israel, Israel was not a nation again until, do you remember? 48, 1948. And this was not part of Israel at that time. There was a 6-day war in 1967 that they got 11 more miles, and they got to go on heights, and they beat back Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon at the same time. They didn't do the attacking, but they certainly finished the attacking. And so a lot of this has happened since then. And so what you see when you go in a couple years is going to be different than what I saw on this trip. It's going to be different from what Wayne and Kathy saw when they went years ago, because they are constantly discovering new things. You are living history. It's wild. So that's what that was. This is where I tried to walk on water. I'm just kidding. Pastor Dan did walk on water. He put down a water bottle and he walked on it. Very clever, very clever. But yeah, that's the Sea of Galilee. So we sailed on the Sea of Galilee. You can see Tiberias. It's like right there. Tiberias. When you read through the Bible, there's different names for things. So you'll hear the Sea of Galilee, but it has no salt in it, it's fresh water. You'll hear the Lake Gennesaret. You'll hear Sea of Tiberias. It's the same thing. Because Tiberias is a city on that sea. Gennesaret is across the way. And so the people across the way on the Gentile side, well, they wouldn't call it Sea of Galilee. They'd call it by their name, Lake Gennesaret. So you have two sides here. And this is what we're going to talk about in a little bit, is those sides, they're still there. You need to understand the way these people think is everyone is out to get us. I'm going to show you a picture of that in a little while, because that's how they live. And that is their history. When the Bible was written, when these people wrote the Bible by the Holy Spirit, they are under this constant oppression and constant attack. They don't have a lot of moments that we take for granted all the time. That's Tiberias. So when you read about Tiberias in the Bible, that's it. That's a painting. That's the woman touching the hem. Why it's special? That's actually at Magdala, where Mary Magdalene came. It's right on the Sea of Galilee. It's just south of Tiberias. I can't remember if it's north or south of Tiberias. But what makes Israel special for you is not just the history, but you cannot avoid the fact that you are surrounded where your biblical events actually happen. And so you're smacked in the face with, this is very real. And these people take it very seriously. And they have these paintings that are ridiculous. I had 1,440 pictures here. I can't show you them all. But that one struck me. Because you see this and you see maybe the emotion, the humbleness, the humility. And right down here, these are original stones of the city of Magdala. They built this building over. It's gorgeous, but they house all of these things that you can't avoid being moved by. So the next day we went to the Mount of Beatitudes. Have you heard the Beatitudes? Do you remember where that happened? Jesus gave something called the Sermon on the Mount. This is it. This is the Mount where they believed Jesus taught. He wouldn't have taught at the top of this, though. I think they have this wrong. He would have taught at the bottom because it's a natural amphitheater. And so he would have talked to the people on the mount. So that's a Catholic site. You're going to notice there's not a lot of people in my pictures. Have you noticed that? We came at a very special time where no one had actually been to Israel in 2 years. 20% of their their GDP, their domestic product is tourism, and in Jerusalem it's 80% tourism. And so these people were pretty much suffering for the last 2 years. So that's the Church of the Beatitudes. One thing you need to understand is that you don't go to Israel just to see the places. I think if you go just to see them, you're going to be strongly missing out. And so when we show up to these places that I'm mentioning and I'm showing you, there's a lot behind it. It's very thoughtfully done. You have a guide who tells you the facts, but he's a Jewish man. That what will strike you is that this Jewish man will speak about the miracles of Jesus Christ, say this is where they happened, this is what he did, it is fact, we know it, and yet he doesn't believe. That should tell you something, that there is a blinding of the eyes. And Paul talks about it very clearly. The veil, like in the days of Moses, was pulled over their eyes, and through Jesus Christ it's lifted. That's part of the reason why you go. That's part of the reason why you go. Is because as you're there having this experience and they're listening to you worship the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, as you're taught, like we were right behind that building, of this is what Jesus did here, but this is more importantly how it should impact your life, you're starting to witness to these people who crucified their Messiah. And they know it. Their eyes are blind. It's a fascinating experience. So you don't just show up and you go, oh, that's pretty, quick. But you're worshiping God. They allow you to sing and bring a guitar, and then you're taught, like I would be doing for you. It is like this is how this should impact you. And some of us need to be impacted right now. And some of us, we've read the Sermon on the Mount, but it's never touched us. Why not? Because we have a veil sometimes. And as you go, this veil starts being lifted over areas that we have disregarded in our lives. These areas that we haven't really let sink in, that we've read the scripture, but we haven't let it penetrate our hearts. And that starts to happen. That's the Sea of Galilee from just a lower, I just thought it was pretty, so it's just a pretty view. Over on the right is Tiberias, on the left is the Golan Heights going down to Mount Nebo. Where Moses saw the promised land. I'll show you a better picture later. I just thought it was real pretty, so thanks, Brandon. Pretty picture. That's the mighty Jordan River. That's it. Yeah, it's pretty. That is up in a place called Dan. So I guess I did learn a lot. So Dan had a region given to them in the promised land that was in the southwest. It really was not great. And so they came up here to the very north part of Israel and conquered this with 600 soldiers. You can read about it in Kings or Judges, I can't remember now. But they conquered this and they made the city of Dan, which is where they all moved to. So the water of the Jordan River flows out on Mount Hebron. And so that's just north of here, but that's the Jordan. Remember, they sucked a ton of water out of this, which is why it's not like huge, because a lot of their water for all of Israel comes from right here. And Syria takes some as well, which is to the east of this area. Go ahead. This is wild. I was walking along thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. That's a Jordan River. And then all of a sudden I look down and I find this piece of clay and I pick it up. They tell you you can keep anything that's less than 200 years old. That is not. That has cuneiform writing on it. I found it on the side of a path. And I went, whoa, look at this. And the guide's like, you need to put that back. It has cuneiform writing. We're going to make a note of this. So that's like an artifact of people who lived in the city of Dan. I don't know when cuneiform writing was, but it's not within the last 500 years, I'll tell you that. Right? Crazy. And then you find yourself standing where Boaz talked with the elders to marry Ruth. You find yourself in Dan standing on this. And you go, this is where Boaz went to the gates of the city. This is living history. And go to the next one. This is where Jeroboam built the altar. This is I showed you this picture a few weeks ago when we talked about it. And this is what I'm talking about, is that you don't go to Israel to see this. You go to Israel to get what he has for you, what God has for you, because in this moment, you realize why Jeroboam made that. And you read the history, you read Kings. It's 1 Kings like 15 or 17. And you read why he did it. And you read that Jeroboam had told these people, this is too hard for you to go to Jerusalem to worship like you're supposed to. It's too much for you. It's too much that God is asking you. And you have these moments where you're standing there and you realize, I'm standing in a place of compromise. And then it causes you to look at your life. And then you ask the question, as you're right there, am I standing in a place of compromise in my life? And the answer is sometimes yes. And then you're challenged. And then you write in your journal. And then you are given the opportunity to pray through this and worship God and start to heal and break some bondages. These people were in a bondage to idolatry. It's an altar to convenience. But I would have never seen this. Is this making any sense to you? I would have never seen this. So that is original stone that Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, absolutely split Israel and made Samaria. This is where he did it. It's the very north end. You can see, we heard automatic gunfire to the right. Don't let that scare you. I know some of you are scared, like I don't want to go to Israel and die. I'd be saying, what better place? Just kidding. But they were training. All the people from LA were like, guys, don't worry. This is North Idaho, normal. Okay, we're good. Trust me, we're good. Lebanon's to the left. So I don't know if I gave you a picture of that. Keep going. No, I didn't. So we're walking down. And this blew me away. I didn't understand this. We sit here, and that looks pretty old, right? That's because it's very old. Because it's a gate, and this is the original gate, right here. And this has been packed with mud. You know, why in the world would they pack this with mud? So it doesn't fall down. And they built gates over gates over gates to rebuild this into eventually what Jeroboam built, his palace. That is the gate that Abraham walked through when he saved his cousin Lot. Nephew Lot. It's the oldest thing that you'll see. But here's what you need to know. This doesn't sink in through your scripture. Is that Lot was captured over 100 miles away, 200 miles away to the south. And Abraham went all the way to here with 318 men walking all the way up there to save his nephew. And then it's going to strike you. How far does God want you to go for the people who are captive in your life? This far. To tear down the gates of hell. Go to the next one. That's the gates of hell. So when you leave there, you go to Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi, I spoke about it, I think, a couple weeks ago. It was a place called Panias, where they worshiped this god named Pan, where you get the word panic from. Because Pan was a god who incited fear, such intense fear that you could not cope, that you could not relate, that you could not function, that you were dead. Does it sound familiar? Sometimes that's who we are. And Jesus stands here where these people believe that is the gate of hell. They would throw down children on these rocks right here that you can't see from way up there. They would throw sacrifices down there. If red came out, they accepted the god of hell, accepted the sacrifice. And if not, you had to do it. You had to do it. To conquer your fear. Are you getting this? What are you willing to do to conquer your fear? Almost anything. And Jesus stands right here and says, who do you say I am? That's what he says. Who do you say I am? And after Peter says, you are the Son of the living God. Jesus says something. He says, this isn't given to you by flesh and blood, but by Father in heaven, and the gates of hell will not overcome them. This is where he's saying that. To say all these things that you have sacrificed to in your life to conquer the things you're so afraid of are nothing compared to me. It starts to sink in. You start to get this, whoa, this is very real. But it gives it context to what the Lord is doing in Scripture and what he wants to do in your life. And you start to realize these are very real people. very real problems, who are very confused like we all are about a lot of things. And how God relates to them is how God wants to relate to you. And he starts to do it. So after that, I can't remember what day this was. After about the fourth day, they'll start to run together. And it's so much. The tour that I went on, usually because I called the person who does this you need to know we're planning one of these, just so you know this, be very upfront, that I would like to go within 18 months to 3 years. And so we've already made contact. And typically, people would do 3 places a day. We did 4 places before lunch. And I said, you're going to do that for us. Because I don't want the vacation. These people need to see. And so you will get your money's worth, but you are running where Jesus walked. For real. So we went down and we went to this place called Capernaum. Are you familiar with Capernaum at all? Capernaum, when Jesus was kicked out of Nazareth, became Jesus' hometown. So this is the hometown of Jesus after he was, I'm going to stand right your way too, kicked out of Nazareth, and they tried to throw him off a cliff, which you will see the pinnacle from which they think Jesus, and they'll tell you, we think this is the pinnacle that they tried to cast Jesus off of. You don't go to Nazareth because it's Palestinian, and you're not super welcome there, but you can see it from the road. So this right here is the synagogue that Jesus taught in. It's been rebuilt, so this is only like 1,500 years old. It's not like 2,000. Why? No, I'm sorry, 1,300 years old. Why? Why are some of these things rebuilt? Why aren't they original? Well, you're going to learn when you're there that around 700 AD, there was a massive earthquake that leveled darn near everything. Like, I'll show you Bet Shean in just a little bit. The entire town was demolished in a minute. Like, crazy stuff. So this is the synagogue that Jesus was built on, the original, that Jesus taught in. Go to the next one. And that's Peter's house. It's like 30 yards from the synagogue. He's so close. He's so close to the literal Word of God, Jesus Christ, at the same time he's speaking, but he's so far from God. And these things strike you, that the synagogue where Jesus taught here, Peter's house, is here. It's in the center of town. But he didn't even know God. He might have heard the words. He never experienced him. He never encountered him. How is this possible? And we do it every day. We read the Word, and yet we're so far from this relationship that Jesus wanted to have. So what does Jesus do? He goes out and he finds Peter like a lamb in the wilderness, like he found every one of us, like he still wants to find you. He goes out and he finds you. And he says, I want to step into your boat. These things start to sink in. So the weird building on top, like, what in the world is that? This is another thing about Israel, is that the Christians there, none of them are non-denominational. They're all very Catholic, Roman Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, and there's 7 major branches of Christianity. But everything is very, very ornate, overdone, and monumentalized is maybe the best way I can put it. So that is a monument to the primacy of St. Peter, which is his home. And so they built this massive church over his home. Peter's home is the biggest one in town. Chosen has this wrong. So I love Chosen, I really do. But sometimes when we read this, we think, oh, Peter was poor and he had nothing better to do than follow Jesus because he's poor and he's about to lose everything because he needs this huge catch to pay the tax man, Matthew. Because we watch The Chosen. He was a big deal. He's not poor. But that says something, that when he leaves everything behind, it was not meaningless to him. It meant everything to him. That is what Jesus asks you. Am I worth everything to you? Sunk in. Keep going. That's Peter's view. That's his view of the Sea of Galilee. He's on the northwest side of the Sea of Galilee. So he had a pretty decent view. I just thought it was pretty. That's the view from the hotel room, the second when we stayed out on the Ramat, this is in the Golan Heights. So this used to be Syria in 1966. So that it's the nicest hotel we stayed at. It's like, woo, pretty top tier. So can you get away with staying at cheaper places? You can. Will you miss out? I think you will, because I want it to be an experience of a lifetime, because most of us will not go twice or 3 times or 4 times. And my perspective is I want people to learn and have an experience with the Lord and actually enjoy it. Does it make sense to you? Again, I'm not showing you the buffets, but they would. I just couldn't take a picture of them. It felt gluttonous just taking a picture, honestly. Okay. So this is Bet Shean. This is what was destroyed in an earthquake. It doesn't have a lot scripturally that we would see as like, whoa, but the pillars behind me are widthwise almost as tall as I am. I have no idea how they did this, but that is a city that was destroyed in 739 AD by an earthquake that in less than a minute demolished the entire city. Keep going. This is the amount of that's original. Like, that's the detail that's there. It's all original. You can walk. I don't know how they let you, but you can walk on that. Probably will someday. I don't know what it says. It's all Greek to me. Keep going. That's the city of Bet Shean. You can tell it's Roman because they always put their streets north, south, and east, west. And so I am on a hill that this is where they brought Saul's body when he was murdered, when he was killed. They hung him up on a temple. Do you remember that story? This is where they hung him. I'm standing about a little south of that. But it has a great picture of what a typical Roman city would look like in the time of Jesus. So the roads are all paved. Everything's very nice. I didn't take it's awkward to take a picture of a bathroom, but they had bathrooms there. I should have shown you. It's like 30 pieces of stone sticking out from the wall that you just go in and you sit down next to your neighbor. I won't go into more detail than that. Okay, keep going. That is the amphitheater at Bet Shean. I just thought it was really cool, so I thought I'd show you that picture and then go to the next one. And this, after we went to Bet Shean, you get to go from the Upper Galilee, which is where the Sea of Galilee is. It is where Capernaum is, Bethsaida, Caesarea Philippi is to the north. On the road there would be Damascus. You've heard of Damascus, where Paul went. This is where Abraham's saved Lot. This is Magdala. This is Tiberias. Across the way, you have the Gadarenes, where Legion was exercised, and then you get to Jerusalem. You are probably picturing in my head, like I did, that Jerusalem is flat. In my head, Jerusalem is flat and Jericho is flat. All these things are flat. This is a scale replica. It's enormous, but it's a scale replica of what Jerusalem was in the time of Jesus. And so you have the temple. What you're looking at right there is the Temple Mount. So when you think of, and this will strike you, I hope it does when you're there. This right here, way down here, this is the city of David. This wasn't here. This didn't exist. There was no temple for David. David purchased this land from a man named Ornan. Do you remember this? He goes up and God comes down and confirms this is the place. This is where you're going to have your son build the temple. That's where Solomon starts to build this. It's finalized by Herod the Great during the time of Jesus. But this was field. This wasn't here. This is where David lived. It's so steep right here. It's so steep. And so when you read these Psalms, and they're called the Psalms of Ascent. The Psalms of Ascent. Why would you be doing? Because they would walk up there. And they walk up the steep hill to get to the Temple Mount. And they'd be singing these psalms as they are ascending to the mountain. So it makes it a little bit more sense. So this is, I remember all of this. I saw all of this. So this is the pool of Bethsaida right there. Right down here is the pool of Siloam. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Am I going too long for you guys? Okay, so sorry. So let's go to the next one. That's the view from our hotel in Jerusalem. Can you see? You can't notice because it's super dark, but it is very steep. Like across the way, there's a valley called the Hinnom Valley, and it runs north-south and then goes to the east. Go to the next one. Do you know where I'm standing right there? That's the Mount of Olives. On the Mount of Olives. Do you remember what I said at the beginning? It's going to strike you how close everything is. No, you don't remember? It's going to strike you how close everything there. Now you heard it again. It's so close. So when you stand on the Mount of Olives and you look over the Temple Mount and you see that big golden dome that's called the Dome of the Rock, it is absolutely not a Christian thing. It is a Muslim thing. That when they conquered this city, they put this over the rock that is down there, where this could blow your mind. And this is true, and I've preached on it before. You guys have heard me, I know, but you need to know where that was. Where Ornan fought is the same place that Abraham took his son Isaac to sacrifice him. That's it. It's the same place, and God brings his long ancestor back there to build a temple, same place that Jesus was crucified, right outside of that. Oh, I didn't do my clicking, Nick. No, backwards, like twice. Yeah, there you go. Jesus was crucified just outside the walls of the city, which would be the first temple walls, not the second, not the third. Just right there, all in the same place. It's so small. And Jesus stood right here on the Mount of Olives many times teaching, where you stand and you see this. And the golden dome will start to actually break your heart. Because just, hear me out, just like this happened to try to kill the Christian faith, this is what Satan does. He tries to conquer the things that are absolutely the most holy to you. And he tries to take them. And he tries to stamp his foot on them. And that's what that represented to me. And it was honestly pretty sad. It's pretty, but it's pretty sad. Yes? Yeah, you're going to see a lot of tombs right here. The question was, are these tombs? So, do you see this? Those are all tombs. All right here is all tombs. Has to be on the east side of the city because the Jews believe that is where they need to be buried. All tombs. For a number of reasons. Let's go to the next one. So we're walking just north of the Mount of Olives. We're still on it. But you walk down this pathway where Jesus would have walked, that people would have been crying out, Hosanna. Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. You walk down that, and then you find yourself at the bottom. Go ahead. Looking at the east gates. Go to the next one. And you're in the Mount of Olives. You're in the Garden of Gethsemane. That tree's pretty old, by the way. I don't know how old. It's really old. Let's flip that one. No, go back. No, way back.
Wait, I can't hear you.
Thanks, Nick.
Where am I going? Sorry,
Flip it.
Flip this?
Yeah, rotate it 90 degrees north. Clockwise. That's better. Whatever. Yeah, there you go. I thought I was being very artistic, so I wanted to share this with you. This is in the private Garden of Gethsemane. There's no one else around. And you're sitting there. Can you go 2 slides back, Nick? You can see that. You go, what's the significance of this? Why do you care that you're sitting there looking at that gate? And then it will strike you that on the night of his arrest, Jesus was where I just was. And he's looking at this gate. It's not far. Is that far? That's not, it's maybe a 3, I know pictures make it look farther, it's a 3-minute walk. And then you realize that as his friends are sleeping and Jesus is praying and he gets up, he would see them coming through that gate. He knew they were coming. And then you realize when the battle was won, and it wasn't on a cross, it's right here when he surrendered to the will of his Father. That's when your battle is won. It's not in the fight, it's before the fight. It's when you commit to following the will of your Father. And these things will start to sink into you. And I sat there, I prayed, I had a tremendous sense of peace because of that. I don't know how to explain it. You can't explain some of these things that you want to know about. I know you have questions like, how will it impact me? It'll impact each of you in a different way. Each in a different way. This one impacted me because I knew that Jesus was telling me that you commit before you are in the thick of things, and before you are facing your temptation, and before you are facing your trial, and before you're facing your battle. Because that's what Jesus did. And then he stuck to it. And he did not run from it. What he committed to, he was consistent in. So that's the gate. You can go forward a couple. One more. So where you end up getting to after that is you're standing above the, is that flat to you? This is not, it's not flat at all. That's Jerusalem. It's all like this. Maybe not as dramatic as this, but when you read about the Kidron Valley, when you read about Josiah taking the articles of Baal out of the temple of God, which you just saw the eastern gate, it's like a minute and a half and you're at the bottom. Everyone would have seen this. It would have been a huge deal. He's not taking them out somewhere private to take care of his business that God of the universe wants him to take care of. It's out in front of everybody. He says, you make a stand for me. It's right there. That's where he did it. And he grinds his idols to absolute ash and dust and scatters them on the Kidron Valley. And you have these moments, like, that is what God calls you to do. No, it's not supposed to be a private thing where we sort of go, No, you stand up here and say, God is conquering my life, and I'm willing to crush my idols to dust, even if it's right here out in front of God and everybody. And so these things are very, very close. They're not far. So that's the Kidron Valley, and I'm standing right here above the city of David. The city of David would have been right here. It's super steep, and it's where you can probably picture why now when David sees Bathsheba. It's because it's all like this. It's very easy to see, because when you're the king, where are you going to be? You're going to be up high. You be on the top. You can see everything. Absolutely everything. And that was the city of David, like the main city. So you walk through the city of David, you get down to this very bottom place, and you hit something called the Gihon Spring. The Gihon Spring, it means gush forth. And it's the only source of running water in all of Jerusalem. Get this. Jerusalem is 2,200 feet above sea level. Where you come from in Galilee is 700 feet below sea level. So you're way up there in like 30 miles. It is extremely steep. You're not hauling water, are you? No. That's it. That's the only water there is in that tunnel stemming from the Gihon Spring. This tunnel is something that Hezekiah dug with, well, he didn't, but his servants and his slaves dug that with their hands. It's 1,500 feet long. You have to go. It's fantastic. It sounds scary. These people were freaking out of their minds. If you're claustrophobic, do not go. Do not go. But it'll blow your mind. At some points, it's over 20 feet tall. They started at each end, and they somehow met in the middle. This was 600, 700 BC. Amazing that they do this. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because the spring is outside the city. They needed to bring it into the city. So they built this epic fortress over the Gihon Spring. You get down to this fortress and you start walking through this tunnel that Hezekiah cut. I don't know if I took any more pictures of that one. But it ends someplace amazing for you. Go ahead. It ends at the pool of Siloam. That's where it ends. It ends at the place where Jesus sent a man who was blind. He says, go wash in the pool. So you're going to see where that man was in just a moment when Jesus said that. It's a long way away. Someone had to help him there. There's no way a blind man makes it from the temple where he was down a very steep path through lots of buildings by himself. This walk does not happen by yourself. You are commanded to make disciples. You're commanded to walk people to the source of living water. And this was the source of living water. That's what Gahan means. Gush forth this living water. And it's right to here. This is what Jesus draws out, what the priests draw out to take to the temple. It's a long way away on the day of Tabernacles when they pour it over the sacrifice and say, gush forth the living water. Save now, out of Psalms 118. And Jesus stands up and he says, if you're thirsty, come to me and I'll give you the living water. This is where it happened. Wow. This all makes so much figurative sense of why this would take place. So that they're, like I told you before, that they're constantly excavating these things. That's the pool of Siloam. They're still working on it. I rode a camel. That's what you see. That's what you see. So, when you are reading through Genesis in about 2 months, and we do our Bible reading plan, and you read about Lot looks one way, Abraham looks the other. That's what they're looking at. And you think, God, this is the promised land? Do you have any better promises? It's not very lush, is it? That's the path you take to get, if you look real close, behind here, that's the Jordan Valley. That's where the Sea of Galilee is. Just north of that, it would be the Sea of Galilee. That's the path you take. Keep going. And then you get into Jerusalem. They start towing you around. Hi, son. I know, super sad. You start turning around the old city, and they take you on. I went to the Wailing Wall. I don't want to show you a picture of that because it was fairly moving for me. But I prayed at the Wailing Wall. There was no wailing. I think that would have freaked me out. There was hardly anybody there, honestly. But then you go on this tunnel tour, and you'll see this is as close as you can physically get to the Holy of Holies, because it's buried underground. They built over it. They completely crushed all of the Temple of Solomon. It's gone. It's buried. So you cannot. This is as close as you can get to that. And you look at these enormous stones, and that stone there is 40 feet long. It is like 6 feet high, and I think it's like 8 feet wide. And I asked the question, how? Because that's from Solomon. That's 3,000 years old. How did they move that? And they said, we have no idea. But they flattened an entire mountain, and they took the stone and they moved it here. They have no idea. God knows. It's fit together so that and you can measure it, every stone is a ½ inch set inside of the one below it because it's a retaining wall. You're looking at a retaining wall of the temple of God. These are the steps where Jesus taught. Go to the next one. Oh, we'll go back. Sorry. So over here, I guess I didn't put that picture. Around the side, it's called the Holy Gate. The Holy Gate is where Jesus would have come out of the temple and saw the blind man. Jesus is in the midst of, they're trying to kill him, and Jesus takes a moment out of people trying to kill him and heals a blind man. I've preached on that before too, but this is very real because this is where that happened. So Jesus taught right here on the southern steps of the temple. Go to the next one. Now, what you're looking at is, this wouldn't have been covered in the time of Jesus. See, this is a roadway. And this roadway goes through the Damascus gate on the north side of the old city of Jerusalem. Brandon, why do I care about the Damascus gate on the old side of... Guys, can we keep it down though? I appreciate it. The running would distract me a little bit. Why would I care about the Damascus gate on the north side of the old temple and this thing which would have been open to the air? And that's because that's where Jesus carried his cross. So this is the roadway that Jesus walked up with his cross, going that way. Go to the next one. You're not going to be able to see it super clear, but right here, can you see a pattern going like that? That is carved into the stone. I touched it, I wasn't supposed to, but that is where Roman soldiers cast their dice. They had games to keep them not bored. And that's one of the places that Roman soldiers cast their dice. Not the place that he'll go back one. Not the place where Jesus was crucified. This would still be right on the outside of the city. And then we get to a place called the Garden Tomb. The Garden Tomb is, I'm convinced of it. They will say this might be, I'm convinced of it, because they show you a rock that has the shape of a skull. And they see Jesus was crucified at a place called Golgotha, which is the place of the skull. I didn't show you a picture because it's covered with tour buses, city buses, because you need to understand that most of these people, Jesus is not their Savior. Most of these people do not care that he died for their sins. Like 1%, less than 1% is Christian. Virtually nothing. And so they don't care. So where Jesus was crucified is where I saw city buses. And then we prayed and we worshiped in this Garden Tomb. And then we saw, they won't tell you this is the tomb of Jesus, but it was darn near it. And it had to be because of the time of day that Jesus was crucified, on the day that he was crucified. And they had to prepare for Passover. And so from a place that Jesus was crucified had to be very, 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 very close to where they put him in the ground. Because there was only about 2 hours for them to get this done before they had to be done with their work by their law. And so go to the next one. That is what the tomb would have looked like. If that's not one, it's right near the tomb of Jesus. I'm going to tell you something. It's still empty. It's still empty. No, this is a big deal for me. It was such a big deal. Because immediately right here, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to read through, I think it's Luke. It says the angel's there, and they go into the tomb, they come out, and the angel says, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead?" It's such an obvious statement. Something we do all the time. How are you looking for God in the dead things that you are pursuing? You're not going to find him. Oh, that tomb is empty. Your life is gone. It is dead. You're not going to find Jesus when you're looking among the dead. He's going to be where he's told you. For them, it was Galilee. For you, it's going to be in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that struck me so hard. Like, oh my gosh, there's nothing there. There's not supposed to be anything there. He is risen. Then we went to this church called the Church of St. Peter of Gallicanto. It doesn't mean anything to you. It's where where Peter denied Jesus. It's the Church of the Rooster. Gallicanto means rooster. It's a Church of the Rooster. But it's something more significant. And I'll tell you how impactful this was. What you're looking at is the pit of Caiaphas' house where Jesus was kept the night before he was murdered. And they have you go down there, and they have on their pedestal Psalm 88. Psalm 88, in every translation you can possibly imagine, from Tagalog to Vietnamese to Chinese to English. So I found the Chinese one, obviously, started to read it. Did not do that. They asked me to read. And I said, okay, this is very strange because I'm not your pastor. And he said, no, we want you to do it. It's Pastor Dan, he was gone. I said, okay. And so there's 45 people there, crammed down there. I was just walking down at Sakshi. She's right in front of it, looking up English, although she could speak Chinese. And so I said, okay, I felt very awkward. And so I read this, Psalm 88. Psalm 88 is the darkest psalm that I could possibly think of. It's basically, I am at the bottom of the pit. I have no hope. Everyone's forsaken me. And I read that. And then I looked around. I thought, this is very Jewish. Because for them, Jesus hasn't risen. And so spontaneously, I started preaching a little bit to these people. I said, you need to know it doesn't end here. And a lot of you are in the bottom of the pit right now. And a lot of you feel forsaken right now. This is not at all where we're supposed to end in our walk. And so it was a very telling time because they have the darkest psalm in the darkest place that Jesus overcame to give you light. That's where I stood. So this, what you're looking at right now, you get to go on a cable. Who doesn't want to go on a cable car ride? Wait, you don't? You do? Okay. Lower your, you all want to go. Peter, you don't want to go on a cable car ride? Well, there is something called the snake path. You can climb up it. It's right here. See that? Yep. It starts there. It goes all the way up here. It takes like 30 minutes. It's super steep. Pastor Dan ran it, so good for him. I did not. So you go up a cable car, and you're at this place, cable car, and you're at a place called Masada. There's a lot of history to it. Those squares that you see down there are the original Roman encampments that they encamped around the city when they took it just a few years after the Jewish rebellion. Everyone died. But we went up there. Keep going, next one. I met a literal scribe. We took an Asi. Yeah, there you go. That's me with the Jewish scribe. He's super friendly. He'll write your name on a piece of paper in Hebrew. Keep going. There's the original Roman encampments that you can see. The next one. And then you go, yeah, actually, can you go back 5 pictures? Yeah, right there. That's good. What you're seeing behind you is the Dead Sea. That's the Dead Sea. It's 1,400 feet below sea level. It's the lowest place on earth. We'll see it in just a minute. Go forward 6 feet. Okay, that. Wow. That's good. Good shit. And you have to click 6 times. Do you remember when David runs from Saul? He goes to a place called En Gedi. He stays in a cave. It's one of those. Not that one. One of those. The river's a lot lower because it was like 3,000 years ago, and so water does what water does. But we went to En Gedi and saw this, where a man lost his destiny, where one man fulfilled it. Where one man had a moment that he understood that it had been taken from him, and another that he knew he was going to fulfill. And all had to do with the corner of a road. And you will see this when you go to Jerusalem, that these young men and these men will have on their shirts a tassel. And a tassel should have a blue thread in it. And that blue thread should be a reminder for the Word of God. David cuts that off. He cuts off the corner of Saul's robe. He cuts off the fact that Saul should have been keeping the Word and didn't. And in doing so, he absolutely demolishes Saul's right to be a king. He demolishes his authority and the symbol of his rule, which is his kingly robes. So this is where that happened. Go to the next one. You ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls? So this, if you turned around from where I am, you would see the Dead Sea. This is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's 12 caverns, and this is where they found them. That's the first one right there. Yeah, keep going. That's the Dead Sea. That's me. Don't look behind. It's people. Yeah, they wear skimpy stuff.
Is it dirty? I've heard it's dirty.
I will tell you something about it. I don't like water. I'm not a fan of water. I don't get in past my knees. So I got into about right here. I will tell you, if you have a cut on your legs, woo! The ocean is 3% salinity. That's 33% salinity. You cannot open your eyes or it has the potential to blind you. There's a dude who did this. He was not okay. Yeah. You get in backwards, you lay down, you get up. They say do not splash. No one splashes. There is a mud pit. I'm not going to show you the mud pit. It's like this. It's like this big, like that big. There's like 30 people there. I'm like, this is human soup. I'm not doing that. So nasty. For those of you who like mud, it's great. Okay, totally do it. Fantastic. I'm not that guy. So that's the Dead Sea. Behind me, you see something called Mount Nebo. That doesn't mean a whole lot to you right now, but it's going to. Mount Nebo is where Moses went up to see the promised land of God. And I said something earlier joking, but when Moses saw the promised land, I know what I would have been thinking. I looked down on this and I said, God, I need a better promise. I'm not joking. Because if I was Moses, that's what I would have thought. I need a better promise. Because I'm looking at a Dead Sea. It's literally trying to kill you. It's literally trying to blind you. It's literally, everything here is, there is no water within, besides En Gedi, there is no water. You cannot live here. And I would be thinking, I need a better promise. And sometimes that's how we look at the promise of God. And he says, this is my promise. That's not good enough. I need more than this. Because we don't see the full scope of it. We don't see what God can do when we just see what is in front of us. And these things will start to really impact you when you realize where you are. And you can't get this from just reading the Bible, can you? You can't get it. You can think you'll get it. You can imagine it. But you can't live it. Keep going. Flip that one. Clockwise.
I'm trying.
This made me feel so at home. That's M4 on that guy's back with the baby stroller. This is very normal. This is what you need to understand. I put this up here for a very big reason. For their entire history, everyone has been trying to kill these people. Everybody. They're required to carry their guns. That's probably a reservist. They're required to carry their guns. They have to carry their guns. They are demanded to be always ready. Always ready. And so I stood in the Dead Sea looking out where Moses saw a land of death, and this man's carrying an AR-15 because he knows at any minute something's trying to kill him. And I thought, that's where we are spiritually all of the time, and we're not ready. We're not carrying our AR-15s. We are walking around absolutely blind to everything around you wants to kill you and blind you and steal your destiny. And you have the promise of God, but darn it, you're going to have to fight for it. You have to fight for it. And these things start sinking in. You can't sink into the Dead Sea, by the way. It's impossible. You will float. You will not sink. But this is very normal. You see this even at the inside of the protected area of the Wailing Wall. You'll see men with AR-15s there, which is just wild. If you do have to go, I completely understand. Keep going. This is just some culture. This is how people get their there are no grocery markets. This is not how you buy groceries in Jerusalem. You go to a market like this. This is grocery shopping. Keep going. I had to go to Jerusalem to see our vice president. That's him. He was there visiting, and so they drove by. I took a video. It's just a little too long. And so, yeah, that's him in that car. There was almost no one around me, but he had gone to because he's Catholic, he went to the Holy Sepulchre, and then they took him through the Old City and out this way. So he's in I wouldn't put him in the primary car. I would have that as a decoy and put him later, which I think he was. But he stopped. He's like, hey, do you want to go to the embassy? I'm like, no, I'm good. But you go ahead, JD. Let's just stay here with my crew. But I'll catch you next time. So he'll catch me up when I visit next time, whatever. So he was there, keep going. And our last day, you have a free day, and I chose to not make it a free day, but walk along the entire wall of the old city of Jerusalem. So that it's called the Ramparts Walk. It costs like $7. I think it's $7. You can walk around the entire thing. You'll have the best views ever. This is the wall that was recreated by it sounds like Marmadukes, and after the Crusades. And so that's when that is all constructed. Incredible. It's still standing. I mean, it's older than your country by many hundreds of years. Keep going. I got in trouble right here. I totally did because I was like, hey. And so I stopped, and there was these very serious-looking people just standing there. And so I stopped and I took this picture, and then I heard you need to keep moving. And so I turned around and I looked at this very serious person, and then I noticed behind him that it said the United States Embassy. And I said, oh! And so I pulled up my camera, taking pictures. You cannot take a picture of that. Oh, okay. I said, you need to keep moving right now. So I found the U.S. Embassy for like 3 seconds, and that was right in front of it. So yay! And then they scooted me along. I think that's it. I think that's all the picture. Do I have any more?
No.
You guys want to see him again? I'm just kidding.